So what we're going to do is we're here to expose it, let people tell their story, and let everybody in the public see the horrors of the court system in Suffolk County, New York.
Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs.
Good afternoon, I'm Gary Jacobs, and welcome to Long Island Backstory, where we're filming at the Cablevision Altice Studios in Hauppauge, New York. My guest tonight is Dr. Frank Gomez from Motomo Nation. Gomez was born in 1961 on Long Island. He attended grammar and high school in East Islip. He then attended college at Suffolk Community College and then CW Post. From there, he went to attend New Chiropractic College and graduated in 1986, completing 5,280 hours of graduate study. And that is the correct number, because when he sent it to me, I don't think I've ever done anything for 5,280 hours. But anyway, I guess he said that's what you got to do to become a doctor. This includes extensive hours in anatomy, physiology, and human functionality. Gomez opened a small 400 square foot office in West Babylon. After 6 months of practicing as a chiropractor, he grew out of that space and opened a 3,000 square foot clinic across the town in Babylon. In 2003, his marriage started falling apart, and by 2007, it was over. He was not only stripped of all his financial and worldly possessions, but also his confidence and manhood were stripped as well. He just couldn't figure out why. Then in 2009, two of his friends persuaded him to go to a men's weekend. There, he started to get his life back and eventually found the answer to why. Now, Gomez is one of the leaders on Long Island, helping men find answers to many things that they have lost, which is why he's here today. He's not here in his capacity as a chiropractor, as a doctor. He's here as his capacity representing Motomo Nation. So welcome to the program, Gomez.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, first of all, everyone's probably watching saying, why is this guy calling him Gomez? Is he being disrespectful? And I asked you at the beginning when you came into the studio,
right,
how should I call you? Should I call you, Dr. Gomez? Should I call you, Frank? What do you want me to call you? Mm-hmm. And right, you said, call me Gomez, and you explained to me why. So right, explain to the viewers why I'm calling you by your last name.
Sure. Well, in the organization, we call them the initiated men once you've actually gone through the 3-day weekend. We call each other by our last names to honor our fathers, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, basically to honor the legacy that was laid down for the family.
So tell the viewers, what is Motomo Nation and what does it stand for?
Well, Motomo Nation is just a name that we actually came up with. It means lead dog. And everybody thought that was kind of cool. It's nothing a special name. It's nothing that it means anything great. And the group is about many things, but the biggest thing I could say, it's about man helping men achieve their greatness through relationships, through especially the relationships that we have with ourselves. Because you can go from relationship to relationship. If you don't look in the mirror and actually see the truth of what's going on with yourself, you're just bringing yourself along, to each relationship, and basically it ends up the same way unless you change something.
So, Gomez, when did you get involved in this organization? Did you found the organization?
No.
Oh, because you said two friends brought you to it.
Right.
So when did you get involved, and what was? I know it was your divorce, but get a little bit more detail. A lot of people get divorced, and some people get over it. Some people don't. They stay angry. They get depressed. We always talk about on the show how you can go many different ways when you get divorced. You can fall into a depression and say, look, my life is over. It's very easy to do because you do get destroyed. Many times you lose custody. You're in a corrupt court system, and there's a bias against fathers. So
right,
it is easy to happen. But sometimes people do what we call post-traumatic growth, where they better themselves because of this. Right. So what made you go this route after your, which I'm assuming was a bad divorce, not that there's a good one?
There's really never ever a good one. Well, my friends saw what I had gone through. I went from being a millionaire to actually being penniless in a year, living out of my car, which I eventually had to give to my wife, so then I didn't even have a car. And they saw all the pain and anguish and everything. And to me, I was like, okay, I'm handling it. we kind of call that, like being on fire, like being on the side of the road and being on fire. In my case, I was on fire on the side of the road, and I didn't even know it. Everybody else saw it. So, they persuaded me to do this. Says, why don't you go to this weekend? Let's, you can find some answers and get you on a path. And then when you come back, we have men who are going to really care about you and your family and keep you on that path to wherever the man that you want to be.
So were you reluctant to go and give this a try? I mean, especially as a guy, you say, we're going to go to a group, therapy, and guys, we tend to keep it to ourselves and try to stay strong. I know I was in court last week, and with somebody, and their ex-wife was sitting there crying in the court, and the judge said, "Can you see the pain that this is causing her? Look at her, she's hysterical crying," and the guy is sitting there. And he looks fine because we're brought up that we don't cry in public. Meanwhile, I'm friends with the guy, and I know that in private, he's really suffering internally. But he's internalizing it. So men, obviously, we handle things differently. Right. So, when somebody said, you want to come and talk and hug a bunch of guys, you're like, screw that. Sounds like something I've not done.
Right.
I wouldn't do.
When they first talked to me about it, they were like, well, it's about, a true masculine relationships. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I have no idea. So it took a while for them to actually get me to go. But, eventually, obviously, I did go. And I got a lot of epiphanies along the way. And then when I got out, I kind of knew why the marriage fell apart. And now that I'm married now, for about a year and a half, I take all these lessons over all those last 10 years or so. And then I apply here. And it's like the ironic thing is my wife did what's called the women's portion of this, the women's weekend, before I even did the men's weekend. So
there's an opposite group for the, what's that one called?
It's, you know what? I don't even know.
Okay.
I know that this is the men's weekend, but I know if I do stray away from what we learned and how to handle relationships, she'll let me know.
Okay.
Well, that's not what you learned in the weekend. I'm like, crap.
Right. So she holds you to it. So give me some examples. What are some of the things that you do in your group? Well, first let me ask, how often do you meet?
We meet once a week.
Wow. So it's a pretty big commitment.
Right.
So it's really it's a big part of your life. Mm-hmm. If, meeting once a week. And where do you meet? You meet in a house, a restaurant? You go out drinking?
Well. Actually, there is no drinking in the group until after the group, until the meeting is over. But in my case, we meet at my office, and there are some teams that will meet in the house or a restaurant or, where it's convenient.
So, what are some of the things that you do in the groups? What are some of the things that you do? You talk about, what are some of the issues you help people through? Yeah,
well, we talk about whatever the men talk about, whatever they need to talk about. In this instance, we have a lot of men in the organization that are going through and have gone through a divorce. And depending on what we call, depending on how much of your masculine power you've given up during your marriage, it kind of reflects upon, how crappy you feel and how drawn back are you, and and how much pity that you give yourself and woe was me kind of thing. I know that for a personal fact because when I got divorced, I was a wreck.
You lose your self-esteem, I think. I actually use the term, and not knowing about your group, that when you go to court, you get emasculated. Mm-hmm. That's what's really like getting castrated when you go to court, because you can't. You have a lawyer talking for you, so you don't even get to speak for yourself. Mm-hmm. They don't always interpret everything that you say properly, and automatically you're the bad guy.
Right.
So you get emasculated. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So.
Gary, society these days, there's a big run, and it's been going on for many, many, many years about, trying to feminize the man. That way there is less fight in society, and they can basically do whatever they want. It was in the government, and then it was in the schools. Sit down and just, don't say anything. If you have to say something, raise your hand, or just be seen and not heard. All those things, especially for a young boy growing up who has all this energy, and now they call it ADD, which is that's a whole nother story. But it's just that, you're active. Boys are are more active than
We used to say boys will be boys.
Exactly.
This is expected behavior.
My kids would come to dinner and they would, sit upside down and sit in the chairs, and my wife would get a little upset. I was like exactly what I would say. Well, boys will be boys, and I say, guys, just sit upright and then everything's cool. Right. Instead of trying to demasculize them the whole time.
But what do you say a man should be? What is, and from the group's perspective, what is it to be a man, to be a masculine? I mean, does that mean that the husband comes home and he always makes the final decision in the house? Pounding your chest. What does it mean to be a man? What is, because I don't know who even determines what's the right thing for a man to act, and it certainly changes over the last 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, from years ago, our evolution was way different. The man went out and brought home the meal, and the stronger, more aggressive male would be the survivor. Right. So, but obviously in society today, it's somewhat the opposite, because what we would used to call as a nerd, who was never going to get anywhere in life, now is a freaking millionaire because he's the genius who works on the computers. And that was only 20 years ago. So it always changes. So from your perspective, what is it to be a masculine man? What does that mean?
It means a lot. It can be mild things depending on the person. But like, you said, like being the alpha male, every man has an alpha male. And like you said, years and years ago, and then you're going back a long time ago, which is still in our brains, is, we were warriors, right? Men were warriors, and they hunted in packs, and they went and killed the food, and they brought it back, and, they protected the tribe, and, and that was it. And the women's part was just taking care of the children, and which is actually still true to the day, because as a man, we have no freaking idea what a relationship is and how to run it and how to do any of that stuff, But man is a provider. It says it right in the scriptures, is to be a provider for your family, for the community, and like you said, nowadays things have changed and everything overlaps.
And what happens? I mean, that would be, so what would, in a situation where the woman now, and this happens many times, the woman makes more than the man, because there's it's equal pay for equal jobs. So a woman makes more. How does that change this whole dynamic?
Sometimes it can demasculize the man, because they look at it, well, it's like I said, it's inborn to take care of your family. All us men have terms. And terms are basically the sum total of our masculinity, and everybody's different. Some men don't even know what they have, don't even know their terms, but they do have them. All of us, even everywhere, is one of the terms that most men have is, I'm a man who takes care of my family, right? So if the wife now is the quote-unquote breadwinner, then the men kind of lose some of that masculinity, and then they become a little more timid as the years go on, and the woman becomes more masculine, and kind of throws things askew. I mean, that's my opinion.
It's interesting. One of the things you said is, how it's our behavior to take care of the family, and I say this often in court when people always use the term, all these deadbeat dads out there, and I say, what? As long as I've been doing this as an advocate, do you know I've never? Now maybe there's some out there. I have never met a deadbeat dad, meaning somebody who has the money to take care of their children, somebody who has a relationship with their children, and says, but I just don't want to pay. It's hardwired into our brains to take care of our children. The courts beat us out of that by taking away your rights to be a parent, by making you see your kid every Wednesday and every other weekend, or sometimes not at all. And justly enriching the other party, but it is truly an innate behavior. Because I met with a lot of men in private and said, look, I would do anything for my kids if I see them, but I'm not an ATM. That's not the way we're wired. I want to take care of my children. So what you're saying is true. People want it. Men, I can only speak because I'm for a man, because that's what I am. But from our perspective, this is what we're hard. We want to take care of our family, and that makes us feel good about ourselves. But you talk about being a man. How do women feel about their spouses, their husbands, their boyfriends joining this group that they know is a, quote, men's group that teaches them to be more masculine? Is that a problem?
It is for a lot, especially if somebody's been married for a while and they go through this or they want to go through this, because the women are afraid that they're secure at that point, right? They know what they have and they want what they have, and they're afraid that, well, if he goes away and starts hanging out with men, they're going to talk, and maybe he'll change and he'll come back, and maybe he won't want me anymore, because that's what all women really think about is does my man still want me? Anytime, even if they're going to work, they'll think about, does he still want me? Will he fight for me? Does he still love me? Because that's their insecurity. For a man, we think about, again, taking care of our family, going out making enough money. Can I support my family? Do I need to get another job? How can I do it better? That's all we think about. And all they think about is, does he still want me? Does he still find me attractive?
So Gomez, so let's say somebody's watching this and they say, you know what, I'm happily married, everything is going well, and their friends saying, or they're watching this, and you know what, I'd like to go out once in a while and hang out with a bunch of guys because I don't do that anymore. But will that hurt their relationship if it's working well?
Well, for me, I don't see an issue for a man. A man should go out once in a while, just like a woman should go out once in a while. You need that separation a little bit. So it could really end up a little differently, if they do it. And some men just say, they got to do this because my wife just runs all over me, and I don't know what to do.
So they need the support.
So, they need support. They need to go find themselves. They need to find out, what it's like to be, a man. A woman wants an alpha man. They might say they want a nice guy, and they do that. But a lot of times, most of the time, they want, an alpha man. They want somebody who they know that's going to be able to protect them.
Which is funny, right? When sometimes you'll see these women who are, gorgeous women, and they're going out with this guy who we would call like a bad boy, and you say, oh, they're attracted to the bad boys, So there's some truth to that, right? That people that's what women, they want the guy who's going to be tough. Of course, they also want the person who's making a lot of money too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's natural also.
Yeah, it's like what's it called? Hypergamy, where the woman actually is looking toward another man who's like above them, either making more money than them. It's called sexual. Maybe bonding, or forget the word, but like if you're a 6, they're looking for a man who's an 8. They need someone, and that's just the way it is. It's anatomy, physiology. It's how they think, And again, how they think is very complicated. And as a man, we don't think very complicated at all.
It's like they show them, what are the men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and so and that and that caught on because I think there is differences between man and the woman, and maybe in society today we'd like to say that there's not.
Right.
But I don't think there's a bad thing about being different.
No, it's a great thing.
Because that's why I'm with the woman because otherwise I just hang out with the guys all the time, right?
Yeah, like when I talk to the groups all the time, they said you can't. If you're both the same, then we don't need one of them, right? So if you're building a house and all the timbers are going one way, that house is going to fall over.
Right.
You got to have cross timbers, and women are great because they test us all the time. They test our masculinity from the things that they may say and do, and just to see where you're at, and just to make sure that you're still with them.
Right. And we have a mutual friend. Give a plug to Stu Schuster, who I grew up with, a great guy, and I know he told me that he credited the organization with saving his marriage and making him a happier and a better person. So I guess it could go either way.
Yeah.
But the people coming in though, I guess they're coming in because they have a problem. Would you say most either they're not happy with their life, their marriage,
Well, a lot of men come in, quote unquote, broken, right? Divorced, lack of confidence, they've lost their, mojo or whatever it is, and that's a great thing, that they reach out and then they re-energize. But we also have men that come in and they're doing very well in life, but there's always a next level, I always want to get to the next level, and I look at it as a human being, not just a man, and we all want to be better at relationships. We want to be better for our children, for our communities, and that's what this again. That's what we do. We go out, we do community service. We go out and we help other people, and we really care. We really give a crap about the men that are there, and the children. For me. When I got divorced, and I'll try not to get too emotional, it just kills me. When I got divorced, things, the crap hit the fan, and my kids, they hated me, and it took me a while to get all that back, But I saw the pain that this divorce put them through. It really messes them up, and I don't care what anybody else says or how old they are. It messes them up. And one of my contacts and driving force in doing this work is I will never see another man's pain and do nothing about it. Because not only is it going to ruin him and possibly the relationship, but I will not let children go through that, another child do that if I can do anything about it.
So, what is the difference? Somebody's got money, they have insurance. Why would they join the group rather than go to a shrink or a therapist? What's the difference? I guess I should have given these questions before the. It wasn't going to be that easy. Come on.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Well, you're getting support, and if you go to a therapist, they listen to you. But what's the difference between going to a therapist and you're just talking, or going to your group?
Well, if you go to a therapist, actually, you talk things through, and what do you think, and maybe we can do it this way, and And even though in the group we have friends, we become friends, while we're in the group, or the circle as we call it, we're not your friend. We're there to help you become a better man. And we will hold that mirror up to you and until you actually see where it is that you're messing up, and then help you find another path. And sometimes men don't want to see that. They can't look into the mirror, and men leave the group for that. They just can't handle it. They don't want to make the change. It's too hard. It's not easy, and you do have to work at it. You don't just come out of this weekend and everything, boom, everything is good. You'll say you gotta work at it. It's like a relationship with, when your wife, nobody teaches you exactly what you need to know and tell you it's going to take a lot of work, but it does. You have to work on it every day. So
Gomez, one of the things you said was that one of the things you do is hold people accountable. It's easy to say, I'm going to do this is my goals, but if there's nobody, just natural that we need somebody to hold us accountable. Right. Because we all make New Year's resolutions, but we're not accountable to it. I said I'm going to lose weight for New Year's Eve. Clearly, nobody held me to that, and it hasn't worked. So, but I mean, we all make promises to ourselves. Right. So, I think in your organization, you're sort of making a promise not only to yourself, but the group is there to hold you accountable. Right. Talk about that a little bit. Yeah, and one of the things actually, we do is we hold each other accountable. So when we're in these meetings, we'll make commitments, either for the week or for the month or whatever it is. And then when you come back next week, so someone's taking notes and saying, hey,
exactly.
Gomez said he's going to do this. Schuster said he's going to do this.
Exactly. And when you show up there and you didn't do it, you get held for it. And then you're inspected about why you didn't do it, what was so important that you weren't able to do it, and then we get you back on track. And you'll get a pop phone call every once in a while from one of the men in the team. Hey, Gomez, how you making out with your commitment? You said you were going to take your wife out, just for no damn reason. Did you do that yet? Or did you help her out with, with the laundry? Or did you do something, that you said you were going to do? And if you didn't, and then they say, well, why when are you going to do this? Let's get it done. And so you recommit.
So is there a stigma against a men's group? Because I know as an advocate for family rights, sometimes people accuse me, and in a negative way, saying, you support fathers' rights or men's. I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? First of all, I help everybody in court because I don't like to see anybody get screwed in court. But what's wrong with that? There's a national organization for women, and nobody has a problem with that. Can you imagine National Organization for Men? Everybody go, what are you talking about? Men rule the world. What do you need an organization for? So do you see, or is that just me, that there's a stigma in a quote a men's group?
Yeah, there definitely is. When you mention this to some of the men, and they go home try to explain it to their wives, they're like, oh, it's a He-Man Women's Haters Club. And it's so far from that.
If that was the case, you'd all be divorced.
Yeah, exactly. It's so far from that. We've saved, marriages. We've rebonded.
And I know
helped
this, like I
rebond
said,
marriage.
from our mutual friend
Yeah.
who's.
I mean,
saved
there's
his
literally
marriage.
like 30-1 or something. I read, women's organizations to men's. Matter of fact, I was looking at something on YouTube today that was posted on April 2nd, but I happened to see it. And they have a forum where women will actually talk to each other to help throw ideas around on how to catch a man and how to get him to commit to get married, and then there's a woman on Craigslist in Florida. They showed the ad that she sells positive pregnancy tests, plural tests, and makes $200 a day selling them to other women in the United States. Now, can you imagine if a man did anything like that? Forget it, we'd be all castrated.
Absolutely. So let's just wrap up because we only have a few minutes left. Couple questions. Is there a cost involved in this?
Not for the meetings. The cost for the weekend is $600. And believe me, you can add 2 zeros or 3 zeros after that, if you're saving someone's life or you're saving someone's family.
That's an hour with a lawyer.
Yeah, right, $600.
That's nothing.
For 3 days, and you buy your own food while you're up there. But that's it.
And that's once a year?
It's twice a year. Like the next one's coming up in November or December. We'll meet somewhere, and it's in Newburgh, New York. So we'll drive the new men up there because you're not going to be able to drive. You don't sleep much. It's kind of intense, not physical, but it's definitely mentally intense. And when they come out, every man that comes out is totally different. Just totally different. The clarity that they see now changes. It's great stuff.
So Gomez, how to give us a little bit of information. How do people, if they want to get information on the Motomo Nation in general, and because you're the local person and talk about your chapter, if somebody's seeing this is like, hey, I like what this guy said, I think he could help me, I'm willing to just try it out.
Right.
I don't do free consultation. Like if somebody just come down and try it out and say, hey, this is for me.
Yeah.
How do they reach you? How do they reach your organization? You're on Facebook, give that information out.
Right. The website is motomonation.com.
MOTOMO Nation.com.
Right, and you'll get a lot of brief information about the entire weekend there. And they can call me at my office, 631-991-3492, and just say, I'm interested in talking to, Gomez about the men's organization, and I'll tell you when the meetings are and where you got to be. Any man who wants to just be better, just make themselves better, they should come down, at least check it out for an hour.
And they can reach you on Facebook as well?
Yeah, my Facebook.
You may be sorry you're giving it out because now you're going to get a
you
bunch
can just
of
go on Frank M. Gomez DC, and that's my personal Facebook page.
Great. Gomez, thank you very much for coming on the
Gary,
show.
thank you for having me.
Thank you for everything you're doing to make people better.
Hopefully this reaches out and helps some people.
Great. I'm Gary Jacobs, and thank you for joining us at Long Island Backstory.
Long Island Backstory is made possible in part by Americans for Legal Reform, the oldest, most successful legal group in the world. P.O. Box 2679, Huntington Station, New York 11746. Telephone 631-421-6390. Website Americans4legalreform.com. Long Island Backstory.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.